There's a group called the National Housing Institute, and there's a site called shelterforce.com, and this article's too long to read in full, but we will post it, as we always do at the end of the show, all the sources for any information that I use. And this was posted, about a week and a half ago. And they're interviewing Julian Castro. Who's Julian Castro? Is he one of the Castro brothers? Well, he might as well be. But no, he's a homegrown Castro. But he runs HUD. And somebody by the name of Miriam Axel Lute, I didn't make it up, Miriam Axel Lute at Shelterforce is interviewing Julian Castro. Congratulations on finalizing the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Act. They were much anticipated. What are the next steps at HUD in terms of implementing the regulations now that they're out? Castro, we look forward to working with cities across the United States to implement the AFFH over the next few years. These things are on a 5-year cycle. Now, that's interesting. The communists are always on 5-year cycles, by the way, particularly the old Soviet Union. They had a 5-year plan for everything. So it's not surprising Obama has a 5-year plan. These things are on a 5-year cycle in terms of when a city usually has to submit its analysis of impediments. And now we're moving to an assessment of fair housing. The first cohort is a year and a half off. Already our teams have reached out to those communities, probably the most significant of which is in New Orleans. The others, I believe, are smaller. The next step is to work with those communities so they can do an excellent job with the assessment of fair housing and better understand how they can put policies in place to boost opportunity for people of different backgrounds throughout their community. It's not busing, it's more than busing. It's national zoning based on race. It's disgusting. Where was John Boehner on this? Never said a damn thing. Where's Mitch McConnell on this? Never said a damn thing. Where's Kevin McCarthy? Nothing from any of these goofballs. Back to Miriam Axel Lute. You know, there's been a lot of conversation in the fair housing community. Did you know there's a fair housing community? About how fair housing can be furthered within the Housing Choice Vouchers program, including a lot of suggestions about regional fair market rent systems, adjusting portability, making assessments, incentivize fair housing outcomes, and mobility counseling. You see what's going on? This is a whole friggin' industry of left-wing kooks who have control over various instrumentalities of government. You don't even know this is going on. I don't even know this. All going on under the radar, in the shadows. Are any of these things on the table for the vouchers program? Castro. Well, yes. We're looking at a number of those, including small area fair market rents. We're looking at mobility counselors, amping up funding for that. Mobility counselors? What is I can only imagine. A mobility counselor. Oh, that's cool. We're interested in terms of the Housing Choice Voucher Program. How do we enhance mobility to get families who choose to live in higher opportunity areas in those higher opportunity areas? Why don't you try capitalism, you idiot? That always seems to work. No, we need mobility counselors. Miriam Axel Lute, great. And will the Supreme Court disparate impact ruling have any effect on HUD policy? Castro, it creates certainty that we didn't have before. It creates certainty that we didn't have before about the use of disparate impact. And so, and this is Kennedy, where discrimination is assumed. Anthony Kennedy, who I'm sure lives in a minority neighborhood in Washington, D.C., he and his wife. Sure they do. Just like the Obamas send their kids to a minority school. Let's see. It creates certainty that we didn't have before about the use of disparate impact. And so it gives us an unqualified green light to make use of disparate impact and help stamp out discrimination in the housing market wherever we can find it. So in other words, there doesn't have to be actual discrimination. Discrimination is assumed if you got too many people of one race over here and too many people of one race over there. Oh, racists! Remember, it's in our heart. Obama said it's in our DNA. Well, Mr. Castro has to fix it. What an apt name. I wonder if he has his deputy secretary named Chavez. Maybe like Phyllis Chavez. Anyway, Harold Simon now asking the questions. Do the AFF regulations, these are the national zoning regulations, proactively support either doing away with land use laws at the local level that have a disparate impact or supporting the enactment of policies to reduce it? So, for example, exclusionary zoning or inclusionary zoning. So, in other words, if you have zoning for like one home every 5 acres, and then you're building like a $900,000 house on every, that's exclusionary zoning with a disparate impact. So the feds can come in and say, no, you can't do that. We look forward to, this is Castro, collaborating with communities around those issues. And at the end of the day, we're not being overly prescriptive. What we like to see is communities in different ways addressing issues that are an obstacle to fair housing opportunities for everyone. So in some places, you may have issues that arise with regard to their zoning practices. It may be different in other communities. We're approaching it with a spirit of collaboration first. But at the same time, we won't be afraid to use the enforcement authority of the department. No, he didn't say that in German. Do you see any promising partnership in place that can point to that as really doing... This guy apparently doesn't even know English. Do you see any promising partnership in place that you can point to that is really doing a good job moving these issues forward? Yes, there are cities that I believe are trying to tackle some of these issues. For instance, Austin, Texas. They not too long ago passed a source of income discrimination ordinance prohibiting source of income discrimination. Folks, we're discriminating against people. We don't even know what the hell we're discriminating against. What source of income discrimination? I need a mobility counselor. I don't know what the hell's going on. That's also been done in a number of states and localities. Of course, in Texas, the Texas legislature just undid or prohibited the ordinance that they passed. However, that's the kind of ordinance that I like to see because it demonstrates a commitment to helping ensure that housing choice voucher families can get into higher opportunity areas. What do they mean? Rich white areas? Like Martha's Vineyard? No, Obama goes there. Oh, okay, sorry, sir. Aspen, Colorado. No. Michelle goes there. We'd like to help work up in collaboration with these communities. They're not collaborating with anybody except leftists in these communities, community disorganizers. A model set of those kinds of ordinances that cities could then choose whether they want to pursue or not. Miriam Axelrod. Now, you mentioned different places have different things going on, different markets. And we want people to have access not only to new areas of opportunity, but we don't want them to be priced out of places where they live now that are improving. There are a number of places, including New Orleans, as you mentioned, where many people are being priced out of the neighborhoods that they have lived in for a long time. In markets like that, what can HUD do to... Do you believe this crap? Julian Castro. We need to focus on creating as much stock of affordable housing as possible. Okay, folks, low-income housing is spreading. It's going to spread. That's why, for instance, we've joined with Treasury in the past in suggesting we look at enhancing the low-income housing, tax credit, by up to 50% by allowing states to substitute unused, whatever. One more. Miriam Axelrod. One of those tools that's getting a lot of interest in many parts of the country is permanently affordable housing, such as community land trusts. Does this not sound like Mao's China? Is this not the craziest damn inclusionary programs with long-term deed restrictions and other programs that really, you know what they mean by inclusionary programs with long-term deed restrictions? That they can only be passed from minority to minority. This is incredible stuff. How can and will HUD support these forms of housing? Julian Castro. That's a great question. No, it's not. It's stupid. What I like about that model is, of course, that it maintains affordability for a long period of time. So what he's saying is low-income housing in communities of opportunity. And the deeds can only be passed to other people based on their income and race. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not losing the country. We've lost the country. There's not a single law that was passed to do this. They're counting on the Fair Housing Act of the 1930s, which has nothing to do with this. They've unleashed their lawyers. They're unleashing these left-wing local community disorganizing groups, all these budding Barack Obamas and Bill Ayers and all the rest. And they're about to destroy our zoning systems. They're about to destroy free market capitalism, private property rights. They're about to destroy communities by forcing this person and that person into that community or this community. This is very, very, very bad. And the Republicans have vowed to fight this. Actually, they haven't. They haven't said a damn thing.